Hello, welcome back. Thanks very much for joining me again. This week's river pattern is going to be a weighted nymph. Now, the last couple of weeks I've shown you some dry fly patterns, but any angler worth their salt knows that mostly it's happening downstairs. So I'm going to speak more about weighted flies and how to weight flies in a separate video, but today I've got in the vise a Jig Superb. It's a Hanak 450 barbless hook, and I've coupled that with a 3mm slotted tungsten bead, and it's purple as you see there. The thread I'm going to use is Vivas. It's an 8/0 thread in black, and I'm just going to get some wax on this to start. And I'm going to come in, push my bead up, and I'm just using my nail and my forefinger to hold that bead in place. Now, as I think I've mentioned before, you can't just stack a load of thread right behind the bead or it just collapses, so the best way is to build a little on-ramp just to support your bead, which I've done. I'm going to take away my waste at this point, and next I'm going to just come back to the bottom of my ramp here, and I'm going to stop. I just want to put a little bit more wax on my thread, and I'm going to add the tail to this nymph, and I'm going to use this Coq de Leon. It's a nice brown colour, or ginger I would say, and I'm going to take 4 or 5 strands of this. There we go. And I want it to protrude about 2/8 of an inch beyond the bend of the hook. So I'm going to catch that in. Before I do anything else, I'm just going to look. Yeah, looks okay. Now, even at this point, if I think it's too long, I can grab my end and still just adjust the tail slightly, which I've done there. And then I'm going to come all the way down to where the barb would be in a normal hook. Now, before I do anything else, I'm just going to make a little loop with my thread and come underneath my tail fibres there. Just going to undo that, I'm not quite happy with it. So back again, loosen up, and there, that's better. So what it does is it just splays out the fibres at the tail end, which is the effect I was after. Next, I'm going to come in with my snips and remove my waste pieces. Next thing then, I'm going to add a rib. It's going to be a silver rib, and I'm using this Vineyards silver wire, number 27. Nice and bright silver. And I'm going to put that end into my tungsten bead, and then work my way down to my tail. Now I want to create a kind of cone shape, so plenty of thread wraps to get that in. And I'm fairly happy with how that's looking now. Now, just as a matter of interest, if I was inclined to, I could put a hot button to this fly just to give it another trigger point, but I'm not going to do that. I think I've got enough bling at the front here with a purple bead. So I'm going to just bring my rib up the body, nice even open turns, all the way up the fly till I've reached my bead. And at this point, I just want to trap that in with my thread while keeping the thread under tension. I can twist my wire away, and then I'm just going to release a bit more thread off the bobbin, and I'm just going to slowly start it twisting because I want this to open out for me. Now I could just carry on with the fly, but what I'm going to do first is just put the tiniest coat of UV resin just over the rib, because what I find is once you start fishing with this, if you don't use glue or resin, the rib starts moving about on the fly, regardless of how tightly you've wound it. So this is just a belts and braces thing to make sure the fly stays as you've intended it. I'm just going to make sure this is really dry because I'm going to use a CDC feather next, and I don't want it sticking to uncured resin. To be fair, the Solaris is pretty decent. That feels good. And I don't have much problems with it. So the CDC feather I'm going to use is this one. It's from Hanak, and it's dyed a lovely pink colour. It's a really vibrant pink. I don't know, in fact, I'll take a feather out so you can see it better. It's lovely dyed, and I'd say it's a salmon pink is how I would describe it, and my wife would tell me I was talking out my arse, but that's what I think it is, salmon pink. Now I've already put a feather in my clip here ready, and all I'm going to do is, you can see I've already used one side of this feather, and I'm just going to trim up, and so I've got that prepared. Next thing is the tricky bit. I'm going to split my thread. So again, I'm going to come in behind and try and flatten out my thread, and I'm looking for it splitting itself for me, but it's not doing it. So I'm going in with my needle and just made myself a little loop here. Now you can create a dubbing loop, but a dubbing loop will give you more bulk, and I don't want that. So I've come in with my clip and caught in them feathers. Now some folks might think, oh well, why don't you just lay it on? And I have tried both ways. I just prefer this. I think you get a better effect with it. Whereas when you lay it on, you can just end up with a clump of CDC, and I don't want that. For me, this fly, again, it's all about the movement in the river. So I've done that, I've got it dubbed up, and I'm simply going to wrap round a few times. Got my thumb and forefinger to sweep everything back, and I've just put a couple of turns in there. Now, at this point, you can see there's a lot of straggly ends of the CDC. I don't want all that, so I'm going to just carefully come in and rip out a few of the extra long ones. You can do it with your scissors, but I just prefer to pinch it with my fingernails. Right, we're getting there. So to finish off then, I'm going to use some CDC dubbing. It's a great material, this. What it does is it traps air bubbles. You don't need very much for a collar, and when this flies under the water, you can see little bits of air bubbles that's trapped by the CDC, and it looks really good. So I've dubbed on a bit of that, dressed it up to the bead, and sweeping everything back, I'm just going to come in like so, a couple of turns to finish off, then a little bit of UV resin on my thread, give it a couple of wraps. Now what I try and do is just tuck it in so it's tucked right into the bead. If you bury it in there, it's never coming undone. I can then come in and trim away. I'm just curing the little bit of UV that I put on my thread. You can, if you're inclined, there's a little bit of super glue on your bodkin and just tuck it in there, and that'll do the same job. And then to finish off, I'll just undo it, and I'm going to just eke out a few fibres from the dubbed head. And there you have a little jig nymph. This is excellent. Good colours for brown trout, and it'll work well for grayling as well. I hope that's of some use to you. Thanks very much for watching. Then I'm going to bring my thread in open turns all the way to the top here. Next, I'm going to come in with some hen's body material. This is the BQ17, and it's a purple colour, very light. So I'm going to just catch that in behind. It's quite awkward, and if you like, it might help if I stop being a complete dick and think about what I'm doing. For fuck's sake.